I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long. You come too. A poem that's kind of guided me as a teacher and as a coach is this little short poem by Robert Frost. I think that poem is about track at Augustana, football, basketball, swimming, all the sports. It's about the impractical. This guy is going out to clean the pasture spring, rake the leaves off the top of the water. They don't need to be raked off the water. They've been there for millennia. And then he's going to fetch this calf and bring it to the barn, and it's been fine out in the field. But that's what he wants to share. This water clear, and that's what we want to share. It's our number one motto for track and field. The goal is the journey. This is what we want to share. Augie's never going to make money out of the track program or any program. We don't get television ads, but what we get is great people achieving great things, and they want to share it. I see Augie Track kind of running down that race.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm here with Dr. Paul Olsen, or Ols as I know him. We're here to go through a history of Augustana athletics and really dig into what is it exactly that makes the Augustana student athlete so special.
Thank you.
Talk to us a little bit about progress on campus. You came here in 1967, right?
66.
66.
The fall of 66.
The fall of 66. And so a lot has changed on campus from a physical standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, social, all of those things. Take us bird's eye view from 1966 to 2021.
Okay. Well, just in cross country, we had 7 guys on the team. It took us about 8 years to get up to 40. We had 25 guys on the track team. We got to 60, 80, and eventually 100, quickly. Just as important, or maybe even more, because that's what brought more people to the campus in those sports. We had a little gym that had a 16 laps to the mile balcony track, just directly south of Old Main. I think it was built in 1920. It was the only big building on campus. It housed, so to speak, the performance of Messiah. And the gym probably sat, I'm going to guess, 300 people. They just had outdoor wooden bleachers set up just outside of bounds, and it was underneath that balcony track. And if you were under there, sitting there watching the basketball team, say at practice, and there were people running on the track, dust and stuff would fall down on top of the people sitting in the stands. And we got better. Then along came Carver. We did not own anything up on the hill because that was the seminary. So campus was right here, and the new dormitories, of course, that have been added in the 21st century here. We had a long ways to go. But I noticed it in 1966. My first day on campus, I was 23 years old, and 2 of the guys I was coaching were 22. We had great people, right from go, that were passionate about their sport, that were excited and talked about the test they had that week. Sometimes it was too hard, and sometimes it was, I got an A. But there was a passion to get things done. And I think unconsciously then, I made this poem by Robert Frost, that one, You Come Too. They were excited about everything, not just the water clearing on the pond, but about the next race, about practice, about classes. It's interesting, I think, that this 23-year-old coach, who was just an English major, BA, the first thing I was told by an athlete was, you should meet Dr. Parkander because she is a really fine English teacher. And then he rattled off, this was the captain of the cross-country team, all the English teachers. He didn't rattle off where the pizza places are, anything kind of practical that I would want to find. But these are the people. And because of that, I went to the freshman lecture of the opening school day, and it was given by Dr. Parkander. I had never seen her before. I'd only heard about her from this track captain. And she gave a lecture on Par Lagerfus, the Nobel Prize winner, book Barabbas. I don't know how long she lectured. I know that I went straight out of the door and over to the bookstore and bought the book. And I know I started graduate school that summer. And the first major paper I wrote was on Barabbas. So my point is, it all connects. And it connects with a kind of enthusiasm, better word even, though that's true, a kind of passion that this stuff really matters. This race matters, this lecture matters, that book matters. That was my introduction to Augie. And then I was as a young coming in coach, told we're going to have a new gym in just 2 years. Well, it took about 7, I think, but we got one. And Carver came, and there was an indoor 12-lap to the mile track, and we had to work out a lot of how do you practice track when the basketball team's there. But Carver came and changed us, and Carver was built on the baseball field then, and that led to, I think, I don't know, maybe 20 years of just calling all around the Quad Cities to find a baseball diamond to practice and play games on. Well, now look where that is now out on Black Hawk Road, this state-of-the-art baseball field. Our football field, our track, when I came, was a homemade rubberized and asphalt mix that the head of the physical plant had decided, because he was interested in track, he could build. Well, he did, and you had to have short spikes, but you'd see little chunks of white walls and little chunks of rubber in there. But it was a great track, and people came because, whoa, this is unique. Well, that was 6-lane, and now we've got, here in 2021, we'll have the finest 9-lane track in the state, and one of the finest in the country. And the gym at Carver that went from up here and 300 fans to basketball that has been incredibly successful forever, with 6,000 fans if you count the kids that were leaning over the top railing when Augustana played Millikan, and the football field now it's not just dirt and mud. For many, many years they practiced on the same field they played. You can imagine what that field looked like by game 4. If it rained, by game 2. But now it's an artificial turf, and it's magnificent, and they can practice on it, but also have a practice field on the west side of Carver, where we also have terrific fields for space for those dangerous throws, the javelin and the hammer, and we can do it safely. I think, interestingly enough, it's Augie at its best. The people at Augustana in our facilities management, they built that place, and they're proud that, hey, we're going to be safe. And we are. So on it goes, and then I think another comeback or another growth I've seen, I'll speak specifically to track, is my first year here, we really did have we had about 6 kids that were great. We won the conference meet. I was not the head coach. I had something to do with it because I was a great cheerleader. And our 4x4 was, 4x1 was really good, and we had a great long jumper and a triple jumper and a great hurdler. And they started turning their stuff in after the conference meet, May 1st. I said, well, no, we're not turning in, we're going to the national meet. Well, what's that? They didn't even know what it was. I drove, they flew out to Ogden, Utah, and we had our first All-Americans. Our 4x1 was All-American, broke the school record, and we've never missed a national meet since. And we do better than just 4 All-Americans.
So it was a change in culture.
It's a change of culture throughout the whole school. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, coaches contribute to that, but there's no hope without an administration, without a faculty that understands that kids care about their academics, and, I mean, there's room for 2 or 3 or 4 important things in your life. We've had great kids sing in the Augustana choir and be an All-American pole vaulter and be a straight A student in physics, because you can do it all. And I think that's a culture. I don't think it was that Augie was ever against any of that, but it just grew that this success was, wow, is okay. It was success in football and track and basketball and everything. And it wasn't successful just all of a sudden in 1966, in the early or the late 60s. You'd kind of seen it coming, but it embraced a new kind of all sport and all around student. And then the next big step from that kind of thinking is it would be the all around male athlete, and that grew into, now we've got lots of All-American women and conference championships and the whole history of women's track especially, well, everything. All of that has been the big change. And these facilities that anybody watching this, I'll just encourage you, go to the website and see the new stadium if you haven't seen it. Somebody once said, wow, it looks like a college stadium. So all that's happened.
That's great.
And there's more. But
there's a lot more. Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of your philosophies and some of your mantras. You always talk about how no athlete competes in a vacuum.
Boy, for sure. And I think that the faculty recognizes it, the administration recognizes it, the coaches do, and most especially the athletes do. They understand that there are forces coming at us from all different directions. I've got this MedCat test to take. I've got this dad at home is sick. I've got this, on it goes with the things that come crashing in on your life. And you somehow have to prioritize everything that's important and somehow let that really, all things can work. I can get this paper written and still not have to skip practice. Or I can go to practice and get this paper, put it the other way around. Both, there's room, my phase, I guess, for that has always been, no one competes or practices in a vacuum or lives in a vacuum. And there's room for more than one number one in your life. I have 2 kids and 5 grandkids, and they're all number one. And you're sitting there and you're at number one. And I look back at 50 squads of, actually it'd be 104 squads, indoor, outdoor, track, cross country. And every guy is a number one. And there's room for that. But that does encourage, teach, demand a kind of discipline, a kind of self-awareness, and maybe the most profound thing is a self-knowledge of who am I and why is this so important? And then we start to weigh things like, this is most important, but it's up against this that's most immediate. We had a young man, a really good half-miler. We had a great half-mile team, 3 great ones. All would play. One would win, and the other 2 would surely place in the conference meet. We hosted the conference meet, and our 3rd best half-miler skipped it. And he just wasn't at the meet, and he would have been a sure placer. We won the meet anyway, and that, in my whole understanding of this whole episode, is irrelevant, really. But I asked him afterwards, come on, you didn't tell anybody, you just didn't show up? He said, there was an anti-war march. I had to be there. I disciplined him by scolding him in front of the team, but years later I patted him on the back and I said, you made this incredibly hard choice. I know he wanted to run, but he was having teammates, classmates looking at their draft numbers, a little bit frightened when they were number 10 or number 1. And he was looking at his friend that got drafted and wrote him a letter telling him what it was like to learn how to shoot an M16. It's more important than a track meet. And for him, it was also more immediate. Because I asked him that. I said, well, you could have marched tomorrow. He said, no, the march was today.
So you think, you see that mindset in most Augustana student athletes?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, they come from a value system, and they have come to a value system that I think stresses being humane. All those words that your mom told you in the 5th grade or the kindergarten teacher told you, where you're taught to be kind, you're taught to not be prejudiced, to make judgments, and to be able to, with all of those decisions at the foundation, make immediate decisions that are controversial, but you've learned how to make them with a value system that you come from and that you come into. I've already said that, so.
Love it. Let's talk a little bit about that quote from Steve Prefontaine that was in your office. Actually, and I remember when I was a high school kid coming for my visit, I saw that for the first time in your office in what would have been 2004.
Yeah, I remember the visit.
Yeah.
I said, we got to get this kid. Yeah, the poster of it, Pre is running in with his head cocked and underneath is this. It's his kind of quote that he'd give to the newspapers: "To do anything but your best is to sacrifice the gift." I wrote a letter to one of my colleagues and one of the giants here at Augustana, Dr. Dorothy Parkander, with that quote. And I don't think she had ever seen a track meet. But I said, this is you. You get the best out of people. And you do it not by demand, but by making them understand you're sacrificing a gift. And you can't do that. And that value transfers into Kyle Eckberg running a school record quarter mile and making sure he's attending his best friend's wedding. These are gifts, and I guess every analogy breaks down, and that one broke down a little bit. But that's okay, because there are so many ways that I think our athletes realize this is a gift. I get to do this, and I get to do it. Let's face it, even if I'm not really very good at it, but I love it. I love these people. I love this team. I just thought of a story. The national cross country meet we hosted. We hadn't even made the national meet the year before. This is 1979. And we've got a good team, but it's the toughest region of all, and only 4 teams advance, and we advanced. And we had a guy that had transferred from a Division I school into a program, out of a program that was great, but didn't allow him to show it. And he got to show it here. And he always wore this T-shirt at practice that said, "Feet, don't let me down." And he'd practice in that and he'd run, and he made our top 7, he made our top 4. And in the national meet, we were 4th in the nation. We had a party that night, not a wild party. Parents were there, and I had gone home to put my kids to bed, and I came back to this. It's midnight. Parents are there. I walked in and said, "Hey, we're going to clap. Let's go. We were 4th in the nation." And here was that guy's name was Brad, sitting on the couch, and he had his uniform on. And right beside him, he had this T-shirt on the couch. And the T-shirt said, "Thanks, feet." And I said, Brad, the meet's been over for 12 hours. Why don't you shower? And he looked at me and looked at his teammates and said, I just wanted to keep my uniform on as long as I could. That's part of that, the journey. It's part of the gift. I mean, the gift isn't just ability. It's the gift to be able to do it. It's a gift to be able to have these teammates. I got a picture of a wedding just last summer, and every guy standing up in the wedding was on the track team. What a gift. You know, that'll, as you know, that'll last forever. Those are his friends. And so we want to do our best, whether it's write a paper, win the race, place third in the race. And I think another story that kind of exemplifies that I think, and this is an Augustana foundational philosophy, and that is, I have this on some t-shirts too. I am important, it says, and you are important. And in 1981, we were at the Drake Relays and had a great 4x8 relay team. Broke the school record by 10 seconds, a record that still stands, and we're second by 1/100th of a second. But at the Drake Relays. And we take kind of a elite group, so to speak, 20 or so guys to Drake, and we always send everybody else to another meet up at Loras College. And we had a young man there whose goal was to run a 2:11 half. Now, every guy in that 4x8 relay ran 1:52 or something. And his goal was run 2:11. It's I guess, a decent junior high time. He ran 2:08. He's 6'11". He played in the band. He practiced when he could. Practiced track when he could. He practiced band every day. He ran the 2:09. Everybody on the team knew what his goal was, knew how good he was. And we're celebrating the school record and all these 152s and second place trophy at Drake Relays. And everybody's clapping. And then we introduced our 5'11" or 6'11", 6'10" trombone player, and he got a standing ovation. It says it all, I guess. Of course, we're going to clap and cheer and have this trophy, but this is a standing ovation. And here we come, Steve Prefontaine. He did not sacrifice the gift, and everybody on the team knew it. I'm tearing up a little bit with that story. Wow.
I love that. I love that. You know, you still feel the emotion of that event, of being second place at Drake and having someone break 2:11 for the first time, and it being just as important. And you feel that just as deeply as those students and those young men felt it back then. And so you have a poem that you've read for years and years and years. You read it at commencement. Commencement every year. Read it when I was here. I've loved this poem ever since. And could you recite it for us? I can.
And it's the hardest poem for me to recite of all of them, really. And commencement day is always the hardest day too. I introduce it to the team. The team and the parents are there, but it's about a race. But not everybody runs. Some people throw, and so you have to imagine that you're tossing the shot and that you're jumping the long jump, or you're whatever it is. So it's bigger than just one race, and it's a love poem, really. Do you remember how you won that last race? How you flung your body at the start? How your spikes ripped the cinders in the stretch? How you catapulted through the tape? Do you remember? Don't you think I lurched with you out of those starting holes? Don't you think my sinews tightened at those first few strides? And when you flew into the stretch, was not all my thrill of 1,000 races in your blood? And at your final drive through the finish line, did not my shout tell of the triumphant ecstasy of victory? Live as I've taught you to run, boy. It's a short dash. Dig your starting holes firm and deep. Lurch out of them with all the power that is in you. Look straight ahead to the finish line. Think only of the goal. Run straight, run high, run hard. Save nothing. And finish with an ecstatic burst that carries you hurtling through the tape to victory. Victory. We don't know if he won, but it was a victory. The 209 was a victory. I love the poem too, yeah. There's so many lifelong and life experience examples of how a poem, poetry, literature affects and changes us, as does the race, the throw, the jump. And it isn't that literature is just a metaphor for sport, or that sport is a metaphor for life. Literature, it is a life. It doesn't mean you can't. Well, I guess you'd explain with literature gives clarity and meaning and structure to something that we somehow don't always quite get a handle on. I mean, we all say that line in literature, that's it, that expresses. So here's a literature metaphor that I'll connect to track, and I've actually never thought about this before. There's a black woman in a great African-American novel who suffered slavery, moved on out of slavery, and was trying to teach her granddaughter to live with gentleness. And she says, it's one of the great metaphors in literature, I think, put me down easy, honey, because I'm a cracked plate. And Honey didn't understand what it was to have been a slave, what it was to have to, and all that one goes through in American slavery. But the cracked plate, she got it. We have a measurement for all sports. It's either a win-loss or X number of tackles or this many points or this percentage of free throws, or this is my quarter mile time and this is my place. And it's all so quantifiable. And that is the least important thing of all of it. And the metaphor, so then this race, this throw, this tackle becomes a metaphor for understanding who somebody else is, I'll get to that, and who I am myself. This girl says, Granny, I understand. You're a cracked plate. And I'm not. You won that race. I did my best. You're not happy. You didn't. On and on it goes to say that there's so much more to any life experience than we can verbalize. But we try, and we have to try. And as we try, our own metaphors, our own races become not just a statement about experience, but an experience in itself. You ran a zillion great races, and when you think about them, I suspect what you remember is the race. The putting on the shoes, the nervous shakeout, the sometimes throwing up after you're done. That's it. And words and memories, and words can help create memories, kind of all come together and give it clarity, give it meaning, because you understand it more deeply. So somehow, it's more than just get it done, or have an experience, or turn in the paper, or get the race done, or have pizza after the meet. It's this whole experience. All right, let's go all the way back to the beginning here and say, you come too. And it doesn't really mean much. I'm just going to rake the leaves off, but I am going to sit and watch the water clear. And we are going to talk about that race. And another kind of axiom that comes out of that for us, we have a T-shirt this way with this on the back of it. In the slow heat of the 5,000, we had a guy who was a wonderful student, a wonderful human being. Those are abstractions. I want to make them specific in a minute. Who never made the top 7, who never scored a point in a conference meet. But he was the captain of both cross country and track teams because his teammates knew something. And it was more than you're in our top 7. Well, he won the slow heat of the 5,000 in the conference indoor meet. And he ran a lifetime best. And the team went on in every event. There were no exceptions. That kids had, we had something like 70 lifetime bests or seasonal bests by other guys and other teams. And on Monday, we started this tradition kind of after you left. I would ask kids, okay, you can name one highlight of the meet, but you can't repeat. So once you've heard one, you have to find another one. And we'd go through that just, 2-3 minutes is all. And we were doing that. And first one mentioned was this young man, Thomas. Yep, his 5,000 lifetime best, winner of that heat. That's the most inspiring thing I had. And the next guy said, well, after Thomas, the next best thing was, and I bet 10 kids said, well, the best thing was Thomas, but I can't say that one, so I have to keep going. We made a T-shirt. I turned them in, but the kids, here's an idea. Comes, as you know, it comes from the team. Our T-shirts now that we hand out is inspiration is contagious. And inspiration is a lifelong thing that goes way beyond a school record 400. Inspiration is contagious. It makes one have, and I don't know, I can't think of 52 years of coaching. I can't think of one person, and that's thousands, that had self-confidence and arrogance. But I think of thousands of kids that had self-confidence and no arrogance. And what a gift that is to be able to say, I can do that. Because I can anchor that relay. As opposed to, what? Anchor? No, I can do that. Or you've got to take this interview at Yale. I can do that. And we have an example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
And or I can take this interview. They're hiring 2 people, and I'm one of 5 being interviewed at John Deere. I can do that.
So I want to talk a little bit more about that. There's a framework, this inspiration, that when you're steeped in this culture of the Augustana student athlete, where it's so much more than just trying to run as fast as you possibly can just because. People will do some, they'll perform at a higher level than they would in that vacuum. And you've seen so many situations over the years. I want to talk about some dropped batons or some things when things start to go wrong. You've seen how people who are steeped in this culture will do extraordinary things when that happens. Tell us a story about some drop batons.
Sure. 1987, we're down at Western Illinois. A lot of Division I schools. It's a meet that by 1987 we're very good, and in fact we've won that big invitational a lot. And my point is we expect to perform well. We had a transfer student who was a tremendous athlete, but it came from a Division I school. He made our shuttle hurdle team, our sprint medley team, our 4x1, and our 4x4. All the four of those were going to run that day. And he's a kind of a new guy now because he feels like I'm important. I guess I am pretty good, and he didn't feel like he was any good at the other place, which, by the way, he'd have been their number one man now, but they just didn't give him a chance. Well, in the hurdles, he fell. We were winning the shuttle hurdle, and he fell. We didn't get even placed. We were winning the 4x1. He dropped the baton. We were winning. This is his first big meet at Augustana, so I don't know, the nerves get to him or whatever, or just bad luck. And a drop baton isn't always, you don't even know who to blame. It just happens. Misstep is all. Well, then in the sprint medley, we're leading, and he runs out of the zone, and we're disqualified. He's sitting on the bench, and he's brokenhearted. And not because he feels has failed, but he's let his team down. That's a. I said, yeah, well, one of the things we talk about here is you have the freedom to fail, and it ain't over yet. That's good. A coach should do that, I think. And up came one of his teammates who was on two of those other relays, not the hurdle relay. He said, well, I think you should anchor the 4x4. He ran 47.5, ran his lifetime best, and we won the 4x4. And it came from, you expect a coach, I would anyway, to give some, it's okay. Missteps happen. But his teammate didn't bat an eye. That baton, metaphorically, was dropped 3 times by that guy. Well, this time it didn't. And it happens all the time. In fact, I've heard athletes say, well, it kind of a reverse of it, but he understood what it meant. Our kind of an elite 4, we were just sending a 4x4 off to the Kansas relays because we had another big meet, and we let these guys go. We'd win the mile relay at this other meet without them. And as they drove away with an assistant coach, one of our captains who had to run tomorrow at the other meet said, that freedom to fail stuff? Well, it didn't go at Kansas. You don't have it there. You got to. But of course he knew it did. So that was embedded that you can drop the baton. 2010, after the first day, we're 30, 40 some points behind. And then after the high jump, first field event, and before any running event started, we're now 60 some behind, 60 points. It's insurmountable. But we had a pretty good day in the trials. And the year before, we had never had a half miler make the finals. And this year we had 3. So we see, well, we're going to pick away. But nobody's walking around down there just thinking, holy cow, 60 points behind. And the throws, all of the throws, the weights are half a mile away. And there's no way to communicate and find out. So I just called Dave Gonzalez, the great throws coach, and said, how are we doing up there? He said, well, we just won the shot and got 4th also. I said, well, we just won the 4x1, and we're 60 points. I think we're only about 40 points behind right now. So we kept moving on. And then we got 1, 2 in the 100. Big surprise. And so I called it, hey, we just got 1, 2 in the 100. That's 18 points. They didn't get any. So I don't remember the scores. I don't keep track of the scores. We just go and do what we do. So if we were 40 behind, now we're only 22 behind. And still got a lot of events to go. So I called them, we won the shot. We won the 1, 2 in the 100. We got great in the 800. So it's very, very close. And we had to beat North Central in the mile relay to win the meet. And we could get 3rd, but if we did, we wouldn't. Our 4x4s are great. But if we got 3rd, they'd have to get 4th. We had to beat them. And we had a great mile relay. We had an All-American mile relay team. We came in. I have a picture of our leadoff man coming in. I don't know where I got it because I don't take pictures either. But he has a 20-yard lead. And I mean, it's over. We're going to win the meet. And somehow there's a misstep on this great relay team that's never dropped the baton, ever dropped the baton. It rolled onto the infield, and 3 teams go by us. Nobody thought twice. I mean, like, look at their coach, look at their teammate, like, what happened? No, I didn't see anybody do that. What happened? Or, coach, what do I do? No one would ask me that anyway. The guy number 3 man just ran out there and picked up the baton and took off. And number 2 man, I mean. He brought us from about 20 yards behind to maybe 12, I don't remember. And our next guy brought us up closer, and we were even with 1 to go. And we had this, I'll say this about him too. A student who's an English major and now has a master's degree in English. I have a colleague and really good friend who said he wrote the best paper I've ever read by an undergraduate. And he got the baton 10 yards behind and he won 10 yards ahead. I said the next Monday team meeting, we have a new mantra. What do you do when you drop the baton? You pick it up and win. And now it's a big metaphor because we're all going to drop the baton. And we can just say, I guess that's it. And I don't think, we never talked about it because this is organic it's what you do. So when I say I'll try to think for them, I got to win. No, I got to keep going. I dropped the baton. Oh, now I can't win. That never crossed their mind. I mean, nothing negative crossed anybody's mind, and probably not even anything positive, because they all knew how close it was, and now we're way behind. This is just what you do. And if we start tying all these metaphors together, you pick it up and you win. You don't sacrifice the guilt or the gift. It's not a goal, it's a journey. And all this stuff has to happen. So we keep going. And our greatest discus thrower, well, he had the school record for 30 years, had to sit out a semester because of bad grades. And he sat out, he came back, was a 3-time All-American, is a director of a big park district in Kansas. I mean, he picked it up.
You talk about adversity, about just figuring out a way to pick up the baton and continue on. Let's talk about Craig Lyon and talk about high jumping, national champion high jumper, and tell us a story about what happened to Craig.
Yeah, Craig, maybe we'll want to cut part of the story. It's a long story. He played basketball too. And so his freshman year, he was really good, but nothing spectacular. But the next year he didn't go out for basketball. And the first meet, we were at the University of Iowa, and we had, I think one of my coaching philosophies is that you work on quality, not quantity. I don't want you jumping 600 times, but let's put the bar up pretty high and do it right. And let's run 1 200 at 22 flat, and then not 8 of them at 27. He had never practiced over 6'4", but it looks good. And there was another competitor from northern Iowa who opened at 6'10". So Greg comes in at 6'4", makes it 6'6", makes it 6'8", makes it by a lot. And we're all thinking, what? And this guy that's going to open at 6'10" is starting to scratch his head a little bit. But Craig was sailing over these so well that he got nervous. Anyway, he opened at 6'10", and that's as high as he went. And Greg went 6'10", first jump. We're all hitting, he's already 2 inches over anything he's ever jumped in his life. And now the whole team is down there watching. I don't even know if they showed up for the races. And he goes over 6'10", boom. And it's rare to ask I mean, I don't coach that way to ask me what to do. I just, I believe in you. Just go do what you think you should. What do I do? Well, you go to 6'10", or you go to 7 feet. And he said, what, 6'11"? No, 7 feet. You're going to do it. 7 feet. Well, he kept 7'3". At that time, that day, it was the best jump in the world. It didn't last the whole year, or even maybe the whole week, when some of those giants start jumping. Well, so he has a great career. He's national champion that year indoors. He jumped 7'3" outdoors. Then the next year, he broke 5 bones in his foot. And the doctor, it was in Chicago where he had the surgery, and we were talking on the phone. He said, the doctor says, I'll never jump again. I mean, I'll never forget the conversation. I said, well, not on that foot. We'll go the other way. Imagine it's harder than being a right-handed writer and trying to write with your left. It's harder. I mean, you've been shooting layups all your life, going off your left foot if you're right-handed, and so on. Well, he fought back. I remember I was out on the track with some cross-country guys. It was in the fall, and he came running over to me. He was out just doing drills and whatever, and he said, look, I can run without a limp. It would have been so easy. A doctor told him, you'll never jump again. And it was so severe. He ripped open his shoe. The foot went right through it. But he picked up the baton. He didn't sacrifice this gift. And at the Viking Olympics, or at the Meet of Champions, he jumped 6'9", qualified for nationals, and his very good friend, Dave Dempsey, was 120 meters away at the shot put ring. I don't know if he was up next or what, but it didn't matter. He heard people cheer, and he saw Craig jump, and he ran a 9,400 down to give Craig Lyon a hug. I said, whoa, and the whole world saw it, and he went on to be All-American. He went on to be a very bright, leading orthopedic surgeon. He picked up a baton, and he just ran. He's got a great family. Yeah, that's his story. Well, you ask a bottom line, I think I'd have a different one tomorrow and a different one Saturday. But the first one I'll jump on is to do everything you can, coach, athlete, team together, to find the best in someone, and to ignore, or just kind of, a better word than ignore, because we don't do that, is to transcend what might be negative. And I have stories that go on and on and on of a pole vaulter who really wasn't going to be a collegiate level pole vaulter. He was in high school and he liked it, but he didn't feel good about himself. And we stuck him in because he could sprint, and we thought, you see him just run. He's pretty fast. We put him in a 55 indoors, and he made the finals and looked good. And I said, put away the pole. What do you mean? You're a sprinter. And the change in self-confidence, even as deep as it grew into self-identity, who am I? What can I do? That's the bottom line, I think, today, is to keep reinforcing what you do well. I do have a story that fits that, and we had a 3-time, ends up being a 3-time All-American decathlete. And he's from Greece, and when he came, he had never done anything except triple jump. But he was really a good athlete. And he said, I want to try to run the 100. And he ran the 100. Well, he moved on and on and on, and said, let's try the decathlon. So the hardest part of the decathlon, if you're a beginner, is the pole vault. It's very complicated, it's dangerous. And he was working out, and we'd have the bar for him just starting. And our great pole vault coach, Chad Thomas, was wasn't there, and John Farwell, just terrific pole vault knowledge, are working with him, and everything went wrong, and the standards crashed on top of it. He didn't get hurt, but he fell in the middle of the box where you put the pole in, and he's down there, and everybody else around there are real pole vaulters, and these guys are practicing at 15 feet, 16 feet, and they don't practice at 16, but and he didn't get hurt, but he was embarrassed, and he's just kind of looking around. And I ran up to him and said, "Sock, you had to be a hell of an athlete to live through that." And I don't know if he really did this, but he sure got up. Yeah, by golly. Well, this guy went on he won the conference title. He won 3 of them. The first one he won, and he no-heighted in the pole vault, but he still won because he was so good in the other 9 events. And he was a 3-time All-American. It wasn't just his coach who said, "You had to be a great athlete to survive that." It was also those teammates that said, "Boy, I used to do that too, and look what you're going to be like. You're going to be beating me in another week." And then they talk and they encourage him, and they all 3 or 4, the 3 vaulters and this would-be vaulter, take off for supper together. I don't know what they said, but I know it was good. And you keep finding the good. It's so easy. It's our culture. It's watch how we do politics in this country. It's so easy to find the negative, and then we find it, and we lift it up, and we emphasize it. We can't do this. We can't do that. I'll vote for any politician that says we can do this, and any teacher that's the best teachers I had, and I had a lot of good ones, said, I said, "Well, I don't know how to begin." You can do this.
And that's Augustana.
That's Augustana. And I see teachers do it. It's my dear friend and a giant here at Augie, Dr. Parkender, not letting kids sacrifice the gift. They'd come to her house and she'd have them at her house in her Chaucer course to read in Old English. I'm glad I wasn't one of those students that had to go there and these are kids, some kids would get A's and some kids would get C's in English, but they had to read Old English in her living room to her with friends around. And you can do this. Very good. That was good. See? It isn't. Augie's great in sports because we do it right, but we have great faculty, we have great administration. Somebody once asked, when our 4x4 won the national title, how do you set your order? And I said, we put our best guy first, because we want to have a lead, and we don't have to play catch up. We want to be confident. We want to make, okay, we're off to a good start. It inspires somebody else. And then we put our best guy second. And I keep going like this, and I'm speaking to the Augie faculty, and they're thinking, you got 4 bests? What's the deal? So our second guy goes best, just so we're going to be close, and we can extend that run because a lot of people run their best guy second. So we're going to run our best guy second to beat their best guy. And then we run our best guy third because we want him to make sure that our leader, because then now everybody's got to run against the anchorman all over. And we got a great anchorman, but so do other teams. So we want to give him, so we run our best guy third. And, everybody's just laughing. We run our best guy at every leg because when we bring a student to campus, we want him to see a beautiful campus. And we lead off with the best people that clean up this campus. And we want them to see our labs so we take them to the labs because it's the best. It could be anyways. We want to meet with teachers because it's best. And we want them to meet all they can, whether it's the first leg, the second leg, the third leg, or the fourth leg of the relay, or in a campus tour, there's 10 legs. But they're all the best. And something I said right at the beginning of this, we believe that without an ounce of arrogance. You come to Augie and you're going to be on a great team. You're going to find great people. You're going to have great support, teachers who, another poetry line, Wordsworth, 19th English romantic poet, says, there's a comfort in the strength of love. 'Twill make a thing endurable, which else would break the heart or overspin the brain. I missed the quote a little bit, but kids know their teachers care. They know their coaches care. They know their teammates are willing to run 120 yards farther than they've ever run in their life to celebrate with their friend. And I think that's Augie's history. And it's the atmosphere, it's the culture, it's the history, it's the philosophy. That phrase that I messed up a little bit was, without love, it can overset your brain or break your heart. And how many kids have we dealt with that have had emotional? We don't let them go. We keep, and I don't mean we, coaches. Augie doesn't. How can we help? You're the leadoff. Oh, by the way, you're going to also anchor. There you go.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks, Ols, as I know you. It's been great sitting here chatting with you for the last...
Thank you.
Oh man, we've been here for quite a bit, but we could go on all day with some more stories. But thanks for giving us that detailed history. There's many more details involved, but that history of Augustana athletics, and thank you for sharing your quotes and your poetry with us today. And
thank you. It's been I re-journeyed the journey, at least part of it. Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Ols.